A wanted sex offender has been taken off the streets after being flagged by the Metropolitan Police's live facial recognition technology in South London. Watch the moment officers move in to make the arrest after the alert is triggered.
I'm just pointing at you.
Get your face down.
I shouldn't be with that child, but I'm only taking her from school to her mum.
I appreciate that might be the one time, but it's the one time that you walk through the camera and we pull you out.
He's not allowed to be in company with 14.
If you undo me, I'll show you something that you won't probably find. Little blocking knife that I've got on me.
Where is that?
It's on my belt buckle.
Okay. Where is
It's in
it?
the middle of it. If you push it from the left to the right,
We're going to get the mini
there you go. It's part of the buckle. So I suppose I'm getting done for the face of weapon as well now.
You're under arrest because you've breached your sexual
So
harm
what's going to happen to me
prevention
now?
order. Can you listen to me?
Okay, fine.
You're under arrest because you've breached your sexual harm prevention order.
On Friday afternoon, January 10th, officers operating a live facial recognition equipped van in the Denmark Hill area received an alert identifying 73-year-old David Cheneler, a registered sex offender. The system had matched Cheneler's face with a database of wanted individuals. Officers moved in and stopped him, only to discover he was accompanied by a 6-year-old girl. Further checks revealed Cheneler was in breach of a court order prohibiting him from being alone with children under the age of 14. He was also found to be carrying a concealed lock knife hidden in his belt buckle. He was immediately arrested and taken into custody. Investigators later learned he had picked the child up from school, not for the first time. He developed a relationship with the girl's mother over the past year and had collected her daughter on at least 2 previous occasions. The child's mother was unaware of his criminal history. Detective Constable Adam Pearce, who led the investigation, said, "This is a prime example of how the Met is using technology to remove dangerous offenders from our streets. Although there were no allegations made in this case, had officers not intervened, there's every chance Cheneler could have gone on to abuse this child." The Met says live facial recognition is playing an increasingly crucial role in keeping communities safe, and it continues to invest in this cutting-edge technology to identify high-risk individuals and prevent serious harm.
So, facial recognition is the ability to take an image and to match that image using something called biometrics against a picture which is on a watch list of people that we want to find. And that's what facial recognition technology does. It is able to automatically search that database of different images and see if it can find a match for the other image which is walking into the system. How does it work? We deploy it on the top of vans. So in the streets you might see a red van with live facial recognition on the side and some cameras on top of it. And as people walk towards those cameras, it's looking at each of their faces. And in the back of the van, there's some technology, and that's where the watch list sits. The watch lists are made up of people that we want to talk to, wanted offenders that we need to speak to. Now, the technology matches the faces of people coming towards the camera with those faces on the watch list. If it finds a potential match, then it alerts the officers on the ground. If it isn't a potential match, then the image of the person walking towards the cameras is immediately deleted.
And with the UK government now weighing up proposals for chemical castration of repeat sex offenders, GBNews debated the matter on Saturday 5.
The Labour government this week announced proposals for chemical castration of sex offenders. I broke this story on Patrick's show. I couldn't believe the headline when I saw it. Genuinely, I was actually laughing because I thought it was so bizarre. Supporters say it could cut down reoffending and keep people safer, but critics are calling it extreme, even inhumane. So, is it time we chemically castrated sex offenders? Seconds out, it's round 1. OK, right. Well, look, I think if you break the law in this country, there should be severe consequences for your actions. We've become a very, very soft nation. And one of the things we see far too often when it comes to criminal offences is paedophiles or people who have got pornography of children getting off very, very easily. We've seen that quite a lot. In fact, people who've put out tweets have had much harsher sentences than people who've been caught with child pornography on their hard drives. I want to see a Britain where there's deterrence for paedophilia. I want to see a Britain where those people, if they wish, should and can get the support they need, whether that's through chemical castration or not. But I want to see those rates of people who are committing those crimes go down and go down forever. That is quite straightforward. The British public see sex offences and sex crimes as an outrage. This is not Britain. It's not part of our values. We should have a strong deterrent, and I think chemical castration will help bring those numbers down.
Well, I've heard a few things on this channel in my time, but that has to take the ticket. Look, this is straight out of the Sharia law and Iranian playbook, actually. You know who cuts off burglars' hands when they commit that crime? It's Iran's government. Now, this is a slippery slope, and allowing the government to have decision-making power over who gets chemically castrated, who doesn't, who gets their hand chopped off and who doesn't, is completely wrong. Now, there's mixed or limited evidence that it actually reduces a reoffending. What we haven't tried in this country, as we've talked about already, is rehabilitative methods to make sure that criminals get the support in the community that they need. Now, let's try that first and not rush to judgment in a knee-jerk reaction that we've heard so much about doesn't work. To chemically castrate people would be an incredible violation of people's bodily autonomy, a cruel and very unusual punishment, Alex.
I don't care. I do not care about the bodily autonomy of paedophiles, Kai. Let me just make that crystal clear. And I don't think most British people who have not committed that crime, at least, will. But we need a deterrence for people who commit crimes like this, particularly against children. We have a rape gang crisis against children. Thousands of young women have been abused up and down the country, and yet many of them are still to face any form of justice. If they knew what was going to happen to them at the end of that was some form of castration, actually, you know what? I don't think many of them would have done it. The fact of the matter is this country is a soft touch. This government is releasing rapists and murderers. They're going to be out offending again soon. We need to roll this out way quicker than that. We can't be worrying about criminals, human rights. We far too often worry about them before we put the British public safety first.
Alice, we can't be a soft touch on the one hand and then have prison overcrowding on the other. That's just logically
then, can they?
inconsistent. So what you're saying actually is sex offenders should be let out of prison, correct?
If they're castrated, they're probably far less of a risk, yes.
Alex Armstrong wants more sex offenders out of the streets.
No, come on,
That's what you've just said.
I said castrate them first, then we might want to let them out because then we can free up the prison, and they can't rape anyone again, can they?
Well, it's actually the effectiveness of chemical castration also has mixed reviews.
Well, I'm not a scientist.
I just don't think this is wrong. You know, the fact is, Britain is different than so many other countries because we stick to our values and our principles, even though we despise what some people believe or what some people do. That's the correct thing to do. We can't chemically castrate people in a hark back to the Victorian times just because we think that something somebody has done is senseless. That would be senseless.